Again, in defense of intellectual honesty and fighting against propaganda and rhetoric, I'd like to just address a couple of things here. First of all, the accusation that Commissioner Madore or Commissioner Mielke are not representing Clark County is just ridiculous on its face. The reason I say so, thank you, is that I voted for both of those people along with thousands of other people in this county, and we voted for them to advance a specific agenda, which they're doing a fine job doing. So thank you very much for representing your voters. I don't know what people would have you do if they would have you turn your back on all the people that voted for you so that you could be another liar that says one thing to get elected and does something different once they're in office. But thank you very much for continuing to forward the agenda that I voted you in for. I appreciate that. Now, with respect to Benton, what I found is I found a couple of objections. One seems to be an objection to Don Benton himself, and one seems to be an objection to the process. With regard to Don Benton himself, I hear a lot of he's unqualified, qualifications, etc. And from what I understand, he's got 18 years in the legislature reviewing hundreds, if not thousands, of environmental bills. I think the argument that he's unqualified for the position is also ridiculous on his face. What really is going on with the objections to Don is a difference in philosophy. Be honest about it. You don't like Don, you don't like his personality or his philosophy or something else, but guess what? Madore and Mielke were elected by people like me, and elections have consequences. So if you don't like the people that they're promoting, you voice it, but let's do it honestly. You don't like Don, fine. Elections have consequences. Regarding the process, we've got issues of either the letter of the law or the spirit of the law. My understanding is the commissioners are the deciders for who gets hired to this position, that there's no law that requires them to go through HR. And I know that if I'm looking for someone to fill a job, and I'm looking for someone that's going to advance the agenda of the voters that put me in office, that I trust and that I know that they've got their track record, then that's the person I'm going to want in there. And if the law doesn't say that I can bypass HR and vote for the person that I think is going to advance the agenda, then by darn it, that's what I'm going to do. Now, if I look back and say, what's HR going to give me? What? List of quintuplets of the Agenda 21 or something from which I get to choose? No. I think that if it's within the law and if it's within the spirit of the law, that that's just a fine thing to do. I'm sorry if people are offended that HR is not the gatekeeper in this situation. I'm sorry if there's people that will never support Mr. Madore or Mr. Mielke that somehow think that they're obligated to agree with them instead of agree with the thousands of voters that put them in. So let's try and keep the argument on substance and keep it honest on the real issues and drop the rhetoric.
Show respect, please, folks.
Right on.
All right. Respectful disagreement, folks. Respectful disagreement. All right. Folks. I got 5 different conversations going on. I need one right up front here, Mr. Sohn, and then I have Steve Baird, George Vartanian, Ed Rutledge. Sir, the floor is yours.
My name is Dick Sohn, and can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to set the record straight on a few really ridiculous comments that I've heard tonight. Christian kind of took a little bit of my thunder away, but I'm going to proceed anyway. First of all, Tom Mielke was odd man out for 8 years and never flew off the handle. He handled his position with dignity, unlike some people who have lapsed recently. Mr. Madore was largely self-funded, and everybody laughed about that. The fact is, Mr. Madore is in nobody's pocket but his own, and liberal Democrats don't quite get that concept.
Folks, please.
And this kind of stuff that's going on back here, you wouldn't hear from a room full of Republicans when a liberal was up here talking. These people are disgusting. You people are disgraceful, and you destroyed this meeting all night long.
Mr. Sohn.
Well, if you don't call for order, then I'm going to call for order.
I am calling for order. I'm calling it from you as well, please.
Okay, as long as we're getting to me and you, let's talk about the fact that when we started this meeting, you told everybody to just give their name. And I thought at the time that that was for time. And then I saw you mishandling the clock at just about everybody that spoke. And we're here a lot longer than we should be because of you. Then I found out that there were a lot of Portland shills in the audience. And I figured, wow, that's why Steve didn't want anybody to know where they were from. Now, should I leap in logic and say to you, I think I'm going to file an ethics violation against you for that kind of stuff? You wouldn't like that, would you? But you made that comment before without any information. So let's get back to something that I spent a lot more time saying that than I wanted to really talk to you about. There seems to be a few people here with concerns that David Madore and Tom Mielke erred in choosing Don Benton to be environmental director for Clark County. Our Republican commissioners are correct to do what they can to halt the long-time negative effect the establishment liberals and their cronies have had on this county. In fact, Commissioner Madore is fulfilling a campaign promise to rein in over-regulation, and I applaud him for that. Years of liberal control has created top-down anti-business bias. This has resulted in decades of operating procedures and rules and a culture that is aligned with a liberal big government attitude. I'm thankful that we have a responsible conservative majority in the county and the county board that is able and willing to reverse the process. Any environmentalist overseeing environmentalists is no oversight at all. Normal HR hiring processes are ineffective for finding and hiring key executives. The commissioners have the power, legally, to find the right people to begin the process of converting Clark County government into a small, efficient, and uncorrupted entity. A government that focuses on the health of the community and not its power. Commissioners did the right thing to seek a prominent conservative for the directorship. Senator Benton is respected by pro-growth conservatives and feared by county liberals who see their powers waning. As usual, waning breeds whining. So what?
Thanks, sir. All right. Next wishing to testify, Steve Baird, George Vartanian, Ed Rutledge, Hector Hinojosa, and Gretchen Starkey. Steve Baird, you are up first.